If you've never seen this guy, Michael Moore is a famous film director who made a name for himself with his addictive style of filmmaking. His first ever movie, Roger and Me, grossed over $7 million in the first year, and in many ways boosted his career across the continent, making him one of the remarkable filmmakers of his generation. Despite the fact that he never went to film school, he tried to do the impossible. He used all the money that he could scrape up and learned himself to direct a movie. Even his own friends thought he was crazy, which just shows how dedicated he was to create a great movie. So what made his work so remarkably funny and interesting? While scrolling through the internet, I found Michael Moore's list of 13 things to film a better documentary. First rule of the Fight Club is to never talk about the Fight Club. And what Morris means by this is to create movies, not documentaries. And he thinks that importance is in creating art, not anything else. So make that to be your own primary concern. Second one is, don't tell me the shit I already know. Nobody wants to spend 2 hours of their time on a Friday night watching a movie where the director says that nuclear energy is bad. We all know that. Just don't spend my 2 hours of life on something that I already knew. Give me something new that I didn't know. The third one is to not let your documentary sound as a college lecture. Nobody wants to sit down and listen to lectures. Lectures are just full of information that somebody has to memorize in college. Nobody wants to spend their free time. The fourth one is not let your documentary taste like medicine, because medicine has a bitter and unpleasant taste. If people needed medicine, they'll go to the doctor, not to cinema or to YouTube if you post that. They want to feel good after watching your video. Michael Moore even said that every time he wants to make a movie, he thinks that people after that want to make club. So he always wants to people feeling better after watching a movie. That is one of the examples he gave. The fifth one is a little bit strange because it talks about the left, how left is boring. And he gave the example that Democratic Party in America was much more interesting in the 1960s because they were funnier than they are today. The sixth one is about how people need to call their documentaries with interesting and provocative names. With real villains, if you're making a documentary about someone, call them by their real names. So it's more provocative, more interesting, and it's kinda edgy. The seventh one talks about how you need to make your documentaries more personal. And the eighth is how you need to film the news cameras. And he gave an example that news cameras, the news outlets, sometimes they don't give you the real information that you need to hear. So you want to call them out on that. The ninth one talks about how nonfiction should be present in your documentary. Because most of the shows today, even like Game of Thrones or Breaking Bad, are basically non-fiction that is really popular among the audience. The 10th one talks about filming the people you only disagree with. And the 11th one talks about understanding the feelings that one scene can bring. Meaning that if you film or edit a scene, you have to know what kind of reaction and emotion is going to bring in the audience. The 12th one is simply less is more. Meaning that you don't have to use advanced English in your movies, because even like in YouTube, for example, Mr. Beast is one of the most popular YouTubers on the platform. His scripts are easily understandable for 5th graders. So that's one information you keep in mind. The last one on this list talks about the importance of sound and how sound can actually amplify the scene if you have the right sound effects and music. So that's one of the informations you also have to keep in mind when filming a documentary. Knowing all of this information, I think we can all agree that if we ever watched a movie that we didn't like, probably because that movie didn't follow up any of these rules. It was kind of boring to us, and that's why we didn't like it. It doesn't mean that it's not a good documentary or movie, but basically we didn't like it. At the end of the day, Michael Moore is in top 1% of filmmakers today. So yeah, this is the end of this video. I hope you liked it, and see you next time.